Thank you. I'd like to call on a gentleman from Florida, Mr. Dunn.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Let me start, if I may, with Mr. Schurr and Ms. Bishop. How does NASA communicate their needs for regarding the RPS for PU-238? How do you communicate with each other, and do you feel like you've got enough lead time on that?
I mean, we have many regular processes. We have a monthly management review where we sit down and look at all of the progress in their activities, as well as talk about any changes in our activities. Then we have a formal process as part of the annual budget cycle where...
So you feel like you're interconnecting well, both of you?
I would say so.
Yes, I would agree.
Okay. For Ms. Oakley, does DOE have an assessment of the total cost requirements to upgrade the facilities to undertake the polonium-238 production, and who pays for that?
Well, the bottom line is that NASA will bear most of the cost to upgrade the facilities and prepare all of the...
That's not spread over any of the other users of 238?
No,
PU-238.
not that I understand. No, and NASA's the primary user right now, and NASA is responsible for reestablishing the capability for the United States. So they've been providing the funding to DOE through the supply project since 2011. And so I think that if you want to talk about costs, this is one of the criticisms in our report that we had, is that prior to recent changes that Ms. Bishop discussed, the supply project was being managed in a very segmented, short-term approach because of uncertainties about funding that would be available in any given year. So it was really difficult to project how much this was going to cost overall. So in the beginning, we were being told it was about $85 to $125 million to reconstitute this effort. Now it's looking like it's going to take a little bit longer and be more upwards of about $235. That being said, because of the way the project was being managed before, we don't know exactly if this is a realistic accounting of risks that are involved in reestablishing that process.
Do I misunderstand? Does DOE, you're producing this PU-238 also, or 239, for weapons?
That's not my area of
I'm not sure, but DOE is the one doing it, right?
The Department of Energy is producing plutonium-238 to support emission requirements.
So are those two parts of DOE talking to each other? I mean, we're making this stuff, so maybe they can get some. NASA doesn't have to start all over?
We coordinate very closely with NASA regarding mission needs as well as their requirements for plutonium. Also, with our arrangement with NASA, the department employs full cost recovery. So we go forth and look at the infrastructure that NASA needs. If it is shared infrastructure, for example, at Los Alamos National Laboratory, where the infrastructure is shared with other national security customers, there is a cost-sharing arrangement. So
have you now reprocessed all of the Russian plutonium we got from the warheads at the end of the Cold War there?
No, the Russian material is still part of the stockpile that we currently have available.
That 17.5 or 35, whatever.
Kilograms, yes.
Okay, so that's it. That's the last of it.
Yes.
That's it. Okay. Just turn for a moment here. I think this is a Mr. Schurr question. Please compare the relative development levels. Which is ready first of the RTG, the ASRG, and the kilopower fission system? Which one can we expect to be online first?
Well, the RTG is active today on the Mars Science Lab that's on Mars. So we started developing that one back around 2001 or so, and it's operational. We've got 2 more copies of that were built at the same time. One of those will go on the Mars 2020 mission that will launch in 2020. So that's the system that we have in hand. It's ready to go. We can build more copies of that, and DOE builds those for us. We are making technology investments in potential enhancements.
I understand you're stalling the ASRG, right?
The SRG, we're just looking at the technology, the basic conversion technology itself right now.
How about the kilopower?
Kilopower is an investigation that other parts of the agency are looking at for potential fission systems. And
purely investigational at this point?
It's still technology development.
So I'm going to try to squeeze one more question in here, if I may, Mr. Chairman. So is there any chance that we could make this plutonium power available to commercial partners, the commercial sector, and is that legal going forward? Other missions?
We
No,
certainly we haven't spent any time working on that.
Yeah, I don't have information.
So that's a novel idea to you?
We certainly haven't had any asks for it.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.